Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, coming to you from the island. That's right, Mackinac Island, where we are attending the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce's annual Policy Conference. And we have with us here, and thanks for joining us, by the way, Elizabeth Bernhard. She's the Executive Director of the Manufacturing Growth Alliance. Let's tell everybody what that is.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for having me on your show. So Executive Director, as you said, Manufacturing Growth Alliance, or MGA. MGA is a statewide trade association dedicated to the unique needs of Michigan's small to medium-sized manufacturers.
Okay, so let's talk about unique.
Unique, yes. So our small to medium-sized manufacturers are very different to our large manufacturers. Our large manufacturers in the state get a lot of attention, a lot of investment. And so MGA is here to advocate for increased services and support and investment in our small to medium-sized manufacturers. They need help with growth. They need help with talent. They need help with succession planning. They need help with operational efficiencies. They need help with Industry 4.0. And so that's where MGA comes in.
Okay, so speaking of industry, manufacturing 4.0, Mr. Kelly will be on in the next few days from Automation Alley. Yeah, he actually is. Okay, so it sounds to me like, as a business guy, okay, give them money, right? They take care of those problems, but that's not always the solution.
No, that is not, that is part of the solution, but it's not the only solution. When it comes to technology adoption, the money is a big incentive, but they need education about why they need to be looking at Industry 4.0 technologies or other things, whether it's succession planning or diversifying their workforce. So they really need education, and they need a little bit of handholding sometimes. And oftentimes we've seen some companies who want to make big changes, but they're so capacity constrained as a small to medium-sized manufacturer that despite the desire to change, they don't have the internal capacity to make those changes. And that's where MGA comes in as a supportive partner to help them find the resources that they need to implement the changes they're looking to pursue.
So how's MGA funded?
We are funded in large part currently by the MEDC. They've been a supporter of MGA through the Industry 4.0 grants. We also have corporate sponsors, and of course, we have membership partnerships. And we have a lot of strategic partners who sign on to support MGA because they themselves have an interest in supporting small to medium-sized manufacturers.
Well, it's interesting. I always ask that question because if you're the CEO of something like that, your time gets split sometimes too much in going and getting out money instead of doing good.
Yes. And so, it's as MGA, we are a trade association. We are a membership-based organization. And so we encourage small to medium-sized manufacturers, CEOs in particular, to become a member of MGA so that they can gain access to the network that we bring to them. Because without connecting with the resources around the state, they will be left behind.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about you being in manufacturing. I mean, that's not so awe-striking now.
Right.
But when you first started getting involved, it was.
It sure was. And
What's that story?
well, it's a great story. At least I think it is.
I think it's a great story.
Thank you. So I vowed when I was a young girl, I would never get involved with manufacturing or the trades for that matter. And the reason being is that my father, he was back in the day what we call a shop teacher. He taught middle and high school students in the industrial arts how to weld, machining. My father is a fantastic machinist. He's an engineer by heart. And I knew I never, ever wanted to be in a lab like my father's shop. I can still to the day remember walking into his shop, and there's a certain smell that I can still detect in some of the manufacturers I visit. But and back then manufacturing was dirty.
Yeah.
It was greasy.
I was going to say that's
Gray.
big
And I didn't want
difference.
any part of that. But manufacturing today, it's beautiful. It's sexy even.
Yeah.
The automation that's happening, the innovation that's happening in manufacturing is so exciting, which is why I'm a part of it.
Yeah, excellent stuff. And you do a little broadcasting for us, as a matter of fact, along those lines. Talk a little bit about that.
Thank you. So I'm so excited. I love being a host on your show, the Build Smart, Lead Strong podcast, where we bring solutions and questions to our manufacturers and things to consider that they're not thinking about. Yes.
Well, you do a great job, and a little bit of storytelling that goes on there, which is important. I've never undervalued storytelling. It is really important.
It's the most important thing. People pay attention to stories before they pay attention to numbers sometimes.
No, you're absolutely right. All right, where do you go from here? Now you're up here.
I'm up here.
So what are you doing up here?
Well, I have a lot of great meetings with my partners all across the state. You mentioned Tom Kelly, Automation Alley. Here, of course, to connect with the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, Centropolis Accelerator, and of course, the MEDC and our LEO partners. Yes.
Right. Okay.
And of course, some happy hours here and there.
Well, exclusive of the happy hours, which all make us all happy. So Quentin was just on not long ago, and we were talking about how they disperse money properly. So, where would you go and get more money? Because my guess is, like most nonprofit type things, you always outstrip your capital.
We do indeed. And we are a nonprofit. And of course, one of the biggest challenges for all nonprofits is the funding. And MGA certainly has a need for increased funding, whether that is through the state, whether that's through corporate sponsorships who believe in what we're doing. But also, I think the most important thing is that we need to remember that our small to medium sized manufacturers need support and they need partners like MGA to give them that support.
Well, Elizabeth Bernhard, not only Executive Director of Manufacturing Growth Alliance, but not only for what you do there, but certainly we welcome you and hope you have a long career here.
Thank you.
At the Michigan Business Network. All right. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network, which is coming to you from the Grand Hotel. We're here for the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce's annual policy conference. I'm Chris Holman, and we'll be back with more.